Welcome back to the Powerhouse Pros podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I realized since we took a little bit of a hiatus and we've recorded over 100 episodes, that it might be time to kind of reintroduce myself. I can't not hear Jay-Z saying, "Allow me to reintroduce myself." Cannot help but hear his voice in my ear. But I wanted to share my story, my path, how I got here, because I think it's important to understand who is connecting with you and who is sharing their know how and having the understanding of why. Because for me, this whole thing that I've created over the last decade. First decade was creating generation PR. 20 years later, we're still running the agency. I actually landed a client today. I got a new client last month. I'm so excited about this because we have a proposal out. We have another proposal out that we're both really excited about, because for a while it was like crickets around here. And I got a little bit nervous, like maybe the industry's kind of dying. Maybe there isn't really a need anymore. Maybe it's shifting all to affiliate marketing versus PR. And then, like a total dum-dum, we figured out that the contact form on my Generation PR website, where we get a ton of new business inquiries, I would say around 20 a month typically. Not all of them are a great fit, but probably 1 in 20 is really exciting to me. And then the others, we connect people that are a better fit and would really appreciate the opportunity. Anyway, we weren't getting any new leads, and I was getting emails, but they would be from people who had gotten my contact email from a friend of theirs. So I had a lead that kept telling me that they were contacting me through the form on my website. And I kept saying, I didn't get it. I'm not getting it. And then it occurred to me, I haven't been getting those for quite a while. And so I filled it out myself, didn't receive it, didn't go anywhere. And immediately had my team take a look at it because I would have no idea where to look, honestly. And sure enough, the contact form was broken. It was not sending any emails to me through the contact form, and it wasn't saving any inquiries we got. And I have no idea how long this was happening. It could have been, I think it was around 8, 9, 10 months. Can you believe that? I mean, within that period, we got maybe 2 new clients. And really, those were the only inquiries we got. And I'm thinking, I'm teaching this incredible agency framework for a business model that's dying. And let me tell you, we connected the form and we're back, baby. Like, we're back. It's awesome. And like the inquiries we're getting are great. And honestly, guys, the budgets are really good too. So it's very exciting. And so I mention all of this because, like I said, 20 years into it, we're working on our 20th year, still running Generation PR. And about 10 years ago, I created Generation Academy. And there is a whole reason why I did this. So let me back it up and, like Jay-Z, allow me to reintroduce myself. So I actually started my career in law. I went to UC Santa Barbara undergrad, go Gauchos, loved being in Santa Barbara. It was so great. And in fact, my family and I go to family camp at UCSB. We stay in the dorms. We bring the kids. We've been going since, they probably were 6 and 4. And now they're teenagers. And it's just really exciting. They are, they look forward to it and love being back on campus. But went to 4 years undergrad. I went straight to law school. I went to USC and I loved law school and took the bar right away. Right after I took the bar, I went to Europe for like what they call a bar trip. This was in 2001. And it was right around September 11th. And a big group that I was supposed to be traveling with was actually flying home when that happened. And I was really glad that I they had to turn around and go back to Paris, and they got stuck for about a week with no money. So they were in hostels. It was like crazy, but had a great bar trip. While I was there, I discovered this fragrance that I absolutely loved. Put a pin in that. I'll get back to that. Past the bar, you find out quite a few months later. So you take it in, God, I can't even remember, July, and then you find out in November. Long time to wait. And I had a job. I had an offer at a big law firm. I was already working. I bought a home in Santa Monica. I was not engaged. I was not with anybody. I wasn't married. I bought a condo and I was like feeling great. And, I settled into this role as a litigator, found out I passed the bar in November. So I passed in November, bought my condo in December because I thought, okay, I have to make sure I'm going to have a salary to support this mortgage and homeowners fee. So I did and started working in law litigation. It was about 4 years, maybe a little bit less. And you ever feel like something just isn't the right thing? Like you've worked so hard or you've really wanted something so badly. And then you get that thing and you're like, I don't even know why I worked so hard for this. Like I didn't even stop to think about what my life would be like when I actually got there. It was all about, and I love, the thrill of the chase and enjoying the process. I really love that. But I think I got caught up in my law class was all about the dot-com boom. 2000 was great, booming. Everything was awesome. We all had summer internships. Then we got offers to come back the next year. And then in 2001, the dot-com bubble burst and we were lucky to have jobs. And so I just got swept up in on-campus interviews and never really stopped to say, like, do I actually want to be doing this? But I got into the, big firm and the requirement to actually pay a mortgage, which meant I had to have a nice lawyer salary to support that. And I just felt like I was in a job more than a career. It did not feel like the right fit for me. It did not feel like I was in the right environment every single day. I never felt comfortable. I never felt settled. I had some pretty gross Me Too stuff happen that contractually I'm not supposed to discuss, but it really shook me to my core and made me second guess my qualifications. Did I really belong at this firm or was I hired for other reasons that diminished my confidence, honestly? And so it almost felt like the writing was on the wall after those things happened. And just felt like, okay, what can I do here that is going to be a better fit for me? And I also looked around and I did not see any women that had it all like I wanted. I wanted to be a mom. I was not yet a mom. I was not yet dating my husband, but I knew ultimately I wanted to be a mom and the kind of mom that could be present for her kids, be room mom if I wanted to, attend their daytime concerts and soccer games and all of the things that my parents were able to do for me because my dad had his own business. My mom sold real estate and she's also an educator, has a master's degree in elementary education and reading improvement. School's always been very important to me, very important to my family. So I just went the school route, law school, and then ended up in law and then ended up at a law firm and was like, what am I doing here? I did not see any women that I could point to and say, she has it all the way that I want it. And she's a partner. She has time for her children. She seems happy and well balanced. I didn't see that. And I really like to see somebody and the way they live their life and how much they enjoy it as inspiration for what's possible for me. And I wasn't getting that model at my law firm. It just didn't exist. And yes, this was 20 years ago, so things may be different. I sure hope they are. If you're listening to the podcast, I'm crossing my fingers, both hands, because things have to change. We should not, as women, have to sacrifice career for family or family for career. I believe that it is possible to have fulfilling career business that you love and to be a really present parent. And that's why we will flash forward to where we are now and why I have created all these programs to help support women. So I'm going to get to that. Remember, I told you to put a pin in the fragrance company that I discovered in Europe. So I loved this little kind of rollerball pulse roller that I found called I Am Rich. And you would smell it, and it had an affirmation associated with it. And it would just remind you that there's abundance in your life. Like, you know how smell is the strongest inducer of memories? Like, you smell it and you remember. So it was an entire range of fragrance that had all these affirmations tied to these different scents. You know, I'm rich, I'm wild, I'm naked, I'm energy, I'm passion, I am love. They merchandised beautifully together. They had really cool affirmations. So you would smell it throughout the day and be reminded of the affirmation on the bottle. And I found I Am Rich when I was on my bar trip in Europe, in London. And when I ran out, I went looking for it in the States. And I thought, you know, this was like early internet days where search was a little challenging, but I finally found it and realized that the company was based in California, which is where I am. But I had never heard of it. I had never seen it anywhere. They had no online presence. They had no retail presence in any of the cool kind of stores where people were shopping at the time, like Fred Siegel and Kitson, you know, prestige stores. And so on a whim, you know, sometimes just like follow that inner knowing, that inner voice. Like, I could have talked myself out of it, but I so clearly saw how this product should be shared with the world, how to get it in magazines. I've been reading teen magazines since my mom would be like, "You're not qualified to read that. You're only 12, you know," which is funny. That's my son's age right now, too. I've been reading magazines. I had them stashed under my bed. I would read them cover to cover 10 times at least. And I loved how magazines were laid out and how they recommended products. I've always been a beauty junkie. I saw this fragrance collection and immediately had 50 ideas for how I could help them get visibility, get them in stores, all the things. So I reached out to the woman and I just said, "Hey, I'm a lawyer, but I love your company and I found it in Europe and you need some presence here. If you send me a big box of products, I will get them out to celebrities, to magazines." I didn't even know what this was called, you guys. I did not know that this was a service that brands paid for. I thought PR was a celebrity doing something they shouldn't be doing, and they got caught. And then some talking head had to rehabilitate their image and, you know, set them up on a press tour to redeem themselves, and did not realize that PR was something that brands implemented and paid for. I knew about advertising, I knew about marketing. Social media did not exist yet. That's how long I've been doing this. But PR was never on my radar. And like I said, I went to UCSB. They did not teach it at school. It was like all research based. I was a comms major, but you don't learn practical skills. You learn theory, right? So PR to me was never on my radar. But I sent this really lovely note, and shockingly, the founder of the company said, "Let's do it." And I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. And a couple days later, shipped to my office, I get this huge box of lotions and shower gels and soap bars and full size fragrance and pulse rollers, and it's the entire range, and it's merchandise. It all looks like a rainbow, and it's very modern and very, the packaging was very, what's the word? Like minimalist, right? And it just looked gorgeous. And I was so excited. And I shut the door to my office and pulled out everything out of the box, and was just like, called in my legal assistant at the time. And we were like, "Oh, this is so cool." And I said, "Don't touch any of it. It's for magazines and it's for celebrities." And one of the things I did is they had a fragrance called I Am Beautiful. Same time Christina Aguilera had a song, Beautiful. Incredible song. I'm not even going to remotely try to sing it because she's incredible and I'm the worst. But I felt like, well, she has to have this, right? Because she has a song about it. And so we sent it to her, just internet searching, found her publicist, asked if I could send a package. They said yes. I sent it. We sent it to a few other celebrities. And then I kind of reverse engineered. Mind you, I'm still practicing law, okay, when all this is happening. I would go to court in the morning. If I had to like argue a motion or, like basically show up for an appearance or whatever. And then the afternoon, I would come back and make all my calls for my office and try to get press and visibility for this fragrance line. So after sending it to a few celebrities, I reverse engineered a contact at the Us Weekly Buzz column. And I told them about it. And maybe 3 weeks later, it was in print, back when print was the thing. I'm holding it in my hand. And it is a tangible result that I got, a positive, tangible result to support a business that I loved, that I believed in, with products that I thought were fantastic and I wanted to share with the world. This is a stark contrast to what I was doing in law, which was long, protracted litigation, companies duking it out, trying to stall, trying to inundate the other side with expensive, lengthy, protracted litigation so that they could outspend them or get them to outspend and run out of money. I mean, basically, that's what I felt like law was: a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours, and not a lot of results to show for it. And I did not love that. I did not love that. I loved the fact that this was a positive result that did not take very long to get. And the woman who ran the company told me that this was the biggest impact on her business that she had ever had. She was getting calls from retailers. It was like amazing, right? And I felt so good when I was holding that mention in my hand. And I mean, I ran to the newsstand. You guys, if you're in PR, do you remember running to the newsstand to look for a copy of your feature? I haven't done that in years, honestly. It's mostly digital now. But that feeling of like holding a tangible thing in my hand honestly felt like a drug. It was like, wow, I need this. I need this in my life. And I had offered that woman services for free. And I thought to myself, if I can make a living doing this, if there is a job out there where I could get paid to do this, that is my dream career. So I started to poke around. What even is this? I did not even know the words PR, public relations, at all in this context. I didn't even know what that was. It just all felt very natural to me. Like, first you do this and then you do that. And, I didn't have resources. I was reverse engineering contacts back when you would look at the masthead and figure out the naming convention. Still works, by the way, guys. If you are struggling to find somebody, it works. But I started to ask around, what even is this? Oh, companies pay for this as a service. Well, what do they pay? Could I go get a job at a PR firm? What do they make? And what resources and tools are available for PR professionals that I can use? Like, is there a database? Is there a press release distribution service? How am I going to figure all this out? Is there a course I could take to learn this? The answer was no, not at the time, unless I wanted to go back to school and go through training or undergrad to focus on public relations, which after having a JD felt like a step backwards. And I had a mortgage payment, so I wasn't about to go back to school. And I realized if I went to a firm that wasn't my own, I probably would be struggling to make ends meet, and it would be really challenging. Then I thought, well, I'm just going to start my own. Yes, everybody thought I was absolutely mental. My parents freaked out. I mean, I went to USC law school. It wasn't inexpensive, and they so incredibly generously always told me they would pay for my education. So they were like, what the F? Jen, you have a mortgage, you have responsibilities. And I realize now they were probably a little scared, and it didn't make sense to them. What I was doing, it just wasn't as simple as saying, well, my daughter's a lawyer and everybody knows what that is. And it's prestigious in and of itself. And keep in mind that through this process, my definition of success changed dramatically. When I was going through school and when I was going into law, success to me meant a prestigious job at a great company and a really great salary, making great money and being able to say, that you're in a career that feels very prestigious. And throughout this process of pivoting, like total career 180, and taking a step back and saying, what's important to me? My definition of success completely changed. What was important to me, it didn't matter anymore. It was for me about being happy, waking up every day and loving what I'm doing, working with companies that I believe in, entrepreneurs I believe in, supporting businesses that I believe in, working with a team that inspires me and makes me be better. And the number one factor that changed is time flexibility, being in control of my time and getting to choose where I'm going to be and when. I mentioned I'm going on a trip tomorrow. We are actually going on 2 back-to-back trips, weird planning, but I'll be gone for 2.5 weeks and I got it. It's cool, right? So that was a major shift for me, was feeling like success meant I was in a prestigious job with a title and salary to match. My parents could brag to their friends. And then at some point I realized like my life is my own and I want to love what I'm doing. So I gave myself 6 months. I quit my job in law. Peace out. And I just went for it. And at the time I was just starting to date Kevin, my husband, and he was like, Jen, you're betting on yourself and I will take that bet any day of the week. You are going to crush it. And it made me feel really empowered. Yes, I have faced imposter syndrome, but in that moment, that inner knowing, I could have talked myself out of it, but that inner knowing that guided me to something different. I did not allow my doubt or my logic. Like, it's so illogical. You're going to leave something you worked so hard for, you spent so much time and money and effort, you're locked into a mortgage. I gave myself 6 months, which meant I had a cash runway saved. Definitely did not want to dip into that, but I thought I have to give this a chance. I really do, because this feels right. And I did not talk myself out of it, even after I shared with my parents and they were less than approving. Let's just put it that way. It was a lot of yelling and it was really hard to hear, but I went for it. And I started Generation in March of 2005. We're coming up, like I said, on 20 years. And the way I got started, because this question I get a ton, how do you even get started? I had that little bit of success from the fragrance company. And I started to reach out and tell people about what I was doing. This great source of referrals is really passionately sharing with people what it is you do. Who do you help? How do you help them? And I started to get some interest from companies that were looking for support, but they didn't have huge budgets. So remember, I worked for free for that client, the very first client, the fragrance company. And then I started offering my services for below market, but for a limited period of time. So I would say, give me 3 months, and setting expectations, always setting expectations and what's going to happen when. I would say in 3 months, the ball's going to start to get rolling. But what you will see is that I'm a hustler. I am working hard for you. We're making inroads. We're proactive. We're coming up with great ideas. And if you see that the wheels are in motion and you really like what we're up to, then we'll reevaluate. And my very first client was a very high-end baby and kids brand. And we came to them below market. And then we ended up having so much success with them. We worked with them for 11 years. And the visibility we got for their products, I mean, every single celebrity who was having babies was carrying this blanket around town. Everybody. I mean, Beyonce, Gwen Stefani, Angelina Jolie, Katie Holmes and Suri Cruise, Nicole Richie, Jennifer Garner, every single A-lister you can imagine. And all I did was call their publicists. It just reverse engineered everything, right? Figured it out, sent them off. People were seen carrying them. Life changing, right? For the business and for me, because it helped me build a foundation of expertise. We are known in the baby and kid space because of that brand and working with them for 11 years and the visibility and the growth that they experienced while we worked together. That was incredible. And slowly we raised our rates as our experience and case studies started to support that. And I had a clear vision of the companies I wanted to work with, retainers I wanted to charge, and strategically took steps to do that, starting small, getting results we could leverage, getting bigger clients in the door, bigger case studies, and then ultimately having enough experience and contacts and expertise in those niches, baby and kids and beauty and cosmetics. Those are our areas of expertise and generation, that my dream clients, sometimes come to me. Sometimes it's an introduction and we really have to like claw our way into it. But now we have the results to back it up. And so exciting. So we were off to the races with generation and working with clients that I absolutely love. And I started to notice a couple different moves that I made that I don't even think at the time I realized were strategic. But looking back, I now see that some of the intentional moves that I made really helped to quickly scale up our business and revenue, bringing in bigger clients and higher retainers, for sure, niching down and specializing. And the very first sort of growth moment I had was when I brought in my first team member, because at the time I was hovering kind of right around $95,000. And I really felt like in order for me to feel quote unquote successful, right, in this new business, I had to substitute or make up for my salary in law. And I just couldn't get over that 6-figure mark. And I had the help of a mentor from USC Business School, which is where my husband was at the time. And he met with me and he basically said, less Jen equals more money. And I said, well, I don't feel like I have enough money to give to an employee because I'm not at the revenue mark where I feel comfortable with what I'm bringing in. And he really stressed to me that bringing in a team member and leveraging their time, leaving my time for revenue generating activities and working on the business versus in the business would really help us grow. Sure enough, that's absolutely what happened. And, a couple moments like that I saw strategically like a pattern for how to successfully set up a business. So thankfully, my company was profitable right out of the gate. We were getting consistent opportunities, just really tapping my network, proactively reaching out, sharing with people very enthusiastically what I was doing now, who I supported, and how they could help me, build my business. So I realized that I was learning quite a bit as I went along. And the other thing too is with the creation of social media, like Twitter was blowing up and I was getting connected to people all over the world. And one of the questions I would get all the time was, how did you go from law to PR? How did you start your business? And I was answering it over and over again. And then I had a couple women around the world. I was mentoring 5 women at the same time for free because I loved it so much. And I felt like I wanted to share everything that I learned along the way because that did not exist for me. And the best way to grow, the best way to get the results that you want even faster is to follow somebody else's blueprint. What did they do to get the results? If they figured it out and they're willing to share it with you and you can be successful even faster, why not? And I felt like I had that to share, especially because I was getting asked by people, can you mentor me? We can set up a call and ask questions. So I realized that these 5 women, I had like 2 in Australia, one in Atlanta, one in Scotland, and then somebody in Toronto. Like the coolest thing ever, right? Just how we're able to connect with people all over the world through the internet. They knew my story. I guess I had been on some podcasts and things like that. So they were all asking very similar questions. And I started to realize that there was like a flow to the way that I do things, that I would recommend people go through the same process and make the same decisions or think through things strategically so that they realize every step they make in their business is a stepping stone on a path to somewhere. And you sure hope it's on the right path to where you want to go. Because anything like, taking a client because they have money and whatever, it's a detour, and you're not actually building a path to the right place and where you want to ultimately strategically end up, either revenue wise or with the kinds of clients you want to work with. So once I realized the other factor, besides everybody asking similar questions and thinking, I'm repeating myself 5 times, I should probably put them in a group. My kids were really little, and I was paying a nanny to watch my children while I was working for free, teaching other people how to build their own businesses. And I didn't mind it, but it felt a little weird that I was not with my children and paying somebody else to watch them while I gave away all of my strategies for free, which it was fine, but it was very time consuming, and they were having a lot of success. So I kind of started to ask them, is this something you would be willing to pay for? And they said, yeah, we kind of expected that we would in the first place. So that's when I got the very first cohort together for Agency Accelerator and co-created the program along with that first cohort. So we ended up building out this 12-step framework, this path to profitability, and it's based on 4 pillars: strategy, sales, service, and scale. And for each of those pillars, there's basically 3 things to focus on, 3 lessons, 3 action items under each pillar. And it's all based on the goal of getting consistent, predictable, recurring retainer revenue and taking the hourly model to the curb, focusing on the retainer model, building a team, leveraging the results you've gotten for your initial clients, creating great case studies and testimonials to draw in bigger clients, higher budgets. And the program has evolved. We've been teaching it for about 10 years now, 9 years. And I love it so much. But what I have realized is that what I love is the impact that I get to make. And since I started Generation, probably about 5 years into it, I had my first son, and then 2 years after that, my second son. So I did not start the business as a mom, but I knew I always wanted to be a mom. And I realized that the transition into motherhood, and I was nursing and I had colicky kids. And so it was hard, but I was like, thank God I'm not in law, because I would have felt the pressure to get back. And then once I got back, I would have felt the pressure to make up those billable hours that I missed when I was on maternity leave and really earn my spot and show them that, I deserve to be there, even if I was a mom, right? And I would have to really prove myself all over again. But with my agency, and I've been running it from home this entire time, I'm actually in my very dark because it's nighttime, but my office was designed by HGTV. That's a story for another time, but love this space and feel so inspired in here. But I was able to have my children at home for the first 8-9 months. I didn't have any help from a nanny, did it all. My kids would nap, I would work. Moms are super focused. We figure out, hey, we have a limited amount of time. What's the priority? We get it done. And I just was so grateful that I had this career that could support my transition to motherhood. I just felt like that was such a gift to be able to seamlessly transition into motherhood and be there for my kids, be the kind of mom I always wanted to be in terms of being present and knowing what they're up to, being home when they got home from school. And I thought back to that experience in law when I realized that that traditional path, that model almost required us to choose one or the other. You get to a point where you cannot easily do both. You either are on the partnership track at a law firm, or you become a mom, you kind of phase out, you work less and less, fewer and fewer hours, and kind of just maybe stop working altogether because it's hard to manage it all. But with this model, running my agency, it has been the best, greatest gift ever. So I wanted to share that. And I have now helped, we have in our various programs and communities and things like that, I've brought, almost 300 women through the agency accelerator. We have hundreds of people in our Powerhouse Plus coaching community, and that includes the Pitch Lab. We have 25,000 people in our, that we're supporting through our free downloads and our email group. And then our Facebook group has, 6,000 people all over the world. And what I wanted to share, I know this is really long, but I want to really stress what my motivation is. And it's this impact that I get to support this community, and it makes me feel great along the way. So just to wrap it up, supporting and serving this community, one of the things that I realized when I first started, and I kept saying, there's no training, there's no like group I can join or class I can take to learn this stuff. I taught myself, kind of learned best practices through trial and error. Same with how I was running my business. And what I realized was this community, this PR world was really kind of secretive and very scarcity mindset based. Like if they shared their secrets with me, then I would somehow have an advantage over them or take away business. And I never thought that was the right approach. I just felt like there's so much work to go around. When I first started sharing what I know how to do and my contacts and my entire approach to how I run my business, I got a lot of people that would say to me, "Are you out of your mind? You're going to take your entire business and all the behind the scenes and put it on the internet for strangers to steal it?" And I thought, I mean, I sure hope they don't steal it, but my hope really is that I can help people and that they will find value in it. And it has exceeded, the community that we have built has exceeded anything I could have imagined in my wildest dreams. When I am telling you, we have the most supportive, collaborative, open, sharing, giving, awesome group of people in our community. I also thought, what if I attract like total newbies and they're not smart and they're not cool, and like like what am I going to do, have to like kind of check into this world and I don't know if they're going to be my people, but oh my god, I couldn't have been more wrong about that. We have the best community. I've met some of my best friends through our community, joining my programs, coming on coaching calls, getting together IRL and getting to meet people. It's my favorite. When people in the community get together, I have so much FOMO. I'm like, oh my God. And they're in Toronto. And I'm like, you guys, why didn't you invite me? And they're like, you're in LA, we're over here. Next time you're invited. It's just been such a joy and a blessing. And I could not be more proud of what we have built, not just my agency, but all of the programs and offerings that we have created with Generation Academy, and the amount of businesses we get to support and the amount of dreams we get to support. It's just been honestly one of the honors of my lifetime. And I am also incredibly proud of the family and the life that I'm building with my husband and my children. And I just could not be more grateful that I made that decision to leave law almost 20 years ago and start my own thing with no training, no contacts, no experience whatsoever, just an inner knowing and a fire in my belly and a bet on myself. And I'm here to tell you that if I can do it, you can too. And the fact that you found me, you are in the right place. So thank you for letting me share my story, my path to how I got here with you. And thank you for being part of this community in some way, shape, or form. And if you want to learn more, exactly the steps that you can take to build a profitable agency, working with your dream clients, our agency accelerator program is bananas. It's so good. Nothing else like it out there. Just so good, so comprehensive. Every resource, every tool, every bit of know-how, from sales training to, scaling, building a team, every resource you could possibly think of, we have created it for you. So it is worth its weight in gold. I highly recommend it. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you soon on another episode of the Pitching Powerhouse podcast. I always get confused. Powerhouse Pro, blah, blah, blah. Pitching Powerhouse. And if you enjoyed this episode and getting to know me, send me a DM on @GenerationPR on Instagram and let me know if any part of my story resonates with you. All right, I'll see you soon.